Hello and welcome to Webinarloop, the all-new webinar marketing software that is miles ahead of the competition and gives you many new features that you won't get at even software that is 5x or 10x the price. So if you don't want to pay hundreds of dollars every month to webinar software that are inferior, give me your attention for the next few minutes because I'm going to show you how Webinarloop is going to change your life. So the first thing, Webinarloop can share your camera live. So if you've got a webcam, you can share it live, or you can share your screen and run your presentations. You can even do automated webinars. You can do webinar replays. So if you recorded a webinar earlier, you can just replay it very easily. And you can also run webinar simulation. So if you've got a webinar that you want to run as live, you can do that. And the best thing about Webinarloop is that it gives you a degree of control on your branding too. So you can run your webinars on your domain names too. So if you got a webinar, you can run a webinar on something like yourdomain.com. that will give you absolutely amazing brand quality and brand recognition. These are but a few of the features that make Webinarloop the best webinar software to use. Then it also gets you a whole lot of amazing marketing features that get you success at every stage. To get started, you get attendance boosting features like webinars on demand. People can go to your page and watch a webinar whenever they want. You get automated scheduled webinars. So if you want to run a webinar weekly and put in new content every week, you can do that. You have fully customizable sign-up pages. So if you've got a webinar page, or if you've got a webinar landing page, you can design it using our inbuilt landing page designer. You even have fully customizable thank you pages too. So when somebody signs up to a webinar, you can redirect them to a page where you can give them further information. You can even send them to offer, send them to a page where you want to convert them or sell something to them. It's all on you. Webinarloop forms can be embedded on your blog. So you can have people sign up directly from your website or your blog without having to visit the landing page. It gives you dozens of ready-made templates, so you can just pick up any template, modify it, and you are ready to go right then. Also, you're allowed to put in chat moderators. So when you're running a live webinar, you can have your moderators monitoring the conversation, you can have your moderators answering the conversation, and even banning people who are trolls or who are not responding properly. And of course, it gives you a lot of amazing analytics too. Webinarloop also gives you an amazing CTA feature that is not there in any other webinar marketing software. And with that, what you can do is, anytime you want during the webinar, you can show a call to action with a button and a timer to your viewers, and you can get them to take action. So suppose at the end of the webinar, you're ready to start pitching, you're ready to start selling, you can tell your viewers, this offer is going to close within 15 minutes or 20 minutes, or the best price is going to go within 30 minutes, whatever you want to say. And Webinarloop will show a buy now button or any button you specify along with the timer, so that you can create some real scarcity right during the webinar too. And the button can lead straight to the purchase page, or it can go to a landing page according to your convenience. You can send your customers anywhere, even getting paid directly into PayPal from that button. It also has integration with every popular autoresponder, so you can integrate Webinarloop directly with SendGrid, Aweber, GetResponse, MailEngine, MailChimp, or any other autoresponder you choose. And your leads will not only go into your webinar, they will also go into your autoresponder, so that you can actually talk to them again and again. And it also has an email reminder system, so anybody who signs up to your webinar, you can make sure that they attend it, because Webinarloop is going to send them frequent reminders, making sure that they come to your page when they should. Also, you have support for Google and Facebook pixels. You can retarget your audience. It supports Zapier, so all the people who attend your webinar, all the people who actually come to the webinar, all the people who sign up to the webinar, you can collect their info in the Zapier and you can take it anywhere. You have automatic webinar recording too, so all the webinars are recorded and you can save a video file at the end of each webinar that is live. and you get multi-user support, so you can give your team access and you can get them to do the webinar. Also, Webinarloop is infinitely scalable. You can start with 10 attendees, 15 attendees, 50 attendees, or even 500. It doesn't matter. Webinarloop will make sure that you are able to do what you need to do, because it is suitable for all sorts of businesses, no matter what your scale is. So let's go on and see the actual software in demo and see how to do all of that I talked about. Alright, so this is the dashboard, and this is where you will see a rich set of analytics for your webinars when you actually run them. I've got a very little dummy data here, but you can see that you will get a registered count on day by day. You will get an attendee count, so you will know which webinar is doing better, which webinar is not doing as good. You will see a total number of webinars, you will see total unique registrants and attendees. And you will see some extra information too, like the number of registrants per webinar, and all of the webinars will be listed. And you can also see all the webinars on which you are a presenter, because Webinarloop supports multiple presenters per webinar. Now, to create a webinar, we go into the webinar section and you will see a list of all your webinars. So these are the 2 webinars that I have. I'm gonna work with one of them. You've got some options, like you can modify the webinar, you can copy the registration URL, so if you quickly need to give it to somebody, you can copy it. You can join the webinar room. This is the place where you actually broadcast your webinar from. This one is set up as a live webinar, so you've got a broadcasting room there. And if you want to see the experience of the viewers, of the attendees, you can join the attendee room too, and you can see how the webinar will look to them. Finally, you can clone the webinar. This is a feature only inside Webinarloop. You can clone a webinar so that you don't have to start from scratch, and you can also transport the webinar or share it with any of your associates. So if you're running a webinar and you are working a deal with an associate to run a webinar for them, or to run your webinar for them, and they're not comfortable with giving you all the leads, they're not comfortable with sharing the leads with you, what you can do is you can transport the webinar to their Webinarloop account, and they can import their attendees, they can run the webinar to them, and you will definitely not have to do any work like set up the webinar or reset it from scratch. All of that work is not required. And of course, you can delete the webinar here. Let's take a look at some of the features. Let's take a look at the webinar setup first. So here is the webinar setup. You can pick a subdomain for it, so it will be like jeetspecial.webinarloop.in, and you can pick a title for the webinar, you can pick a description, you can select what language the webinar is in, you can select the webinar type, is it a live webinar, is it a scheduled webinar, or is it an on-demand webinar, and of course you can enable or disable. And you can choose the logo. The logo will be displayed to people when they sign up in the emails and all the other places where they come to log into the webinar. It will be a part of your subdomain, so it's important that you use a proper webinar logo. Here of course you see my photograph. On the left side you can see all the different sections inside the webinar that you can set up. Some of them are optional, some of them are required, and all the sections that you're set up will be of green color, and the black colored sections are the sections that you haven't set up yet, and you can set up these sections anytime you want. Webinarloop has a ready button which tells you what you need to do to make the webinar live. So here are the sections which are actually required: the details, the videos that you want to work with, if it's a pre-recorded webinar, the schedule of the webinar, the presenters, and the layout. So once all these basic things are done, webinar is ready to go live. And in this case, it will actually tell you, whenever you click on the ready button, it will tell you what exactly is left. So you can just go on and do this. You can just click on the option that you want to work on the sidebar and set it up, and you will find that the green light will go on and it will be ready for broadcast. Now in YT Live, you can actually put in the link or the details of the YouTube live video that you will work with. So here you can see I've got the video URL, I've got the stream key, and I've got the stream URL, and these 3 things will be utilized by Webinarloop when you schedule a live webinar, when you schedule a live camera webinar, because Webinarloop internally uses YouTube Live to broadcast it, and that's why Webinarloop can broadcast to thousands of people without any issues. The next is the schedule. You can add a schedule for when you want to run the webinar, so you can select a date. You can either run it in a recurring manner, just select every and select what is the time gap you want to run it on. You can select the date and the time when you want to start it. You can select the time zone too and click on add, and the schedule will be added, and you will be able to run either a one-time webinar or a recurring webinar. Even if it's live or even if it's automated, it doesn't matter. In the presenter screen, you can select who is going to present the webinar, and you can add multiple presenters. So if you want to add another email, just click on the email box and fill in the email and then click on add presenter. The presenter will receive an email and they'll be able to add themselves to the webinar, and when the webinar goes live, they will be on the webinar. And in the layout section, you can select what layout you want to choose for the pages, for the landing page and the player page that you are going to use. So for the registration template, we have a number of options. Click on select and customize, and you will see a number of ready-made registration templates. You can take up any of them, click on customize, and you will be able to modify it inside of our landing page builder. So this is a pretty powerful landing page builder, and you can see that your landing page is here. You can change any text, you can change the images, and you can customize this landing page according to your own preferences. So using this system, you can modify any landing page and you can have a custom landing page which will give your webinar the edge, which will get you maximum number of attendees. Similarly, we have multiple themes for the player templates too. You can use standard, minimalist or professional, any one you want, and this will be the experience of the people when they attend the webinar. Usually we use the standard one, it's pretty capable. Next we have the call to action builder. Here you can set up what call to action you want to show the users whenever you're ready. So you can select a CTA heading, you can use a timer if you want, and you can also use a button text. So if you want to have some text on the button like click here to grab your offer, you can put that here, and you can point the button to anywhere you want. It can be a PayPal button link or it can be your domain too. You can put in a link to your landing page or your offer page anywhere you want. You can send people wherever you want. And if this was an automated webinar, you would not be there to control when the CTA goes live. You can set up a time, like you can specify exactly when in the webinar you want the CTA to go live. So if you want to, for example, make it go live at the 59th minute, you can do so and select when the CTA goes live exactly, and this will help you put the CTA exactly when the webinar scarcity kicks in. If you want to set up simulated chat, you can add a name, you can add an email address for the person who's going to type in the message or who's going to say the message. You can add a custom message and you can specify exactly when you want this message to appear and click add. That way you can add complete string of messages, complete conversations, and you can have a simulated effect on the webinar when it goes live. You can also add email reminders very easily. To send your reminders, you can use a third-party service which you can add inside the settings section. You can add an SMTP and you can choose which SMTP you want to send the emails through. You can enable custom reminders, and then you can specify the from name, from subject, from email. You can select when you want to send this email and type in your custom reminders. What will happen is Webinarloop will use your reminders too. It will send your reminders using your name, and customers will be motivated to attend because you can make some very strong pages in the custom reminders that you send to people. Webinarloop also has autoresponder integration, so all the leads that sign up can be sent to your autoresponders automatically. You can add an autoresponder using the autoresponder section, and whatever autoresponder you add, it will be available here, and you can select which autoresponder to send the lead to and which list to send the lead to inside the autoresponder. And in the tracking section, you will need to add your tracking code. So if you've got a Google tracking code or FB Pixel, you can add it to this box. You can just copy and paste both of them into this box. And if you've got a conversion pixel too, if you're going to run ads and you want to test the conversions, you can put in your conversion pixel in the conversion pixel box, and it works again with both Facebook and Google or any other third-party conversion system that you might have. Webinarloop also supports API-based recruitment. So if you're trying to recruit someone using an API or using a third-party app, you can do so, or you can embed a Webinarloop form on your blog or any website you want, and that is very easy through the recruitment section. In the attendees section, you can see who are the people who are gonna attend the webinar, and finally inside the integrations, you can find the codes to put in inside of leads to list and ads to list. These are two SaaS products which you can get to get more leads from Google and Facebook ads. And that was all about the setup of webinars in Webinarloop. Now let's take a look at the webinar room. We're in the webinar room now, and you can see that you got two steps. You got to start the call first, and then you got to start broadcasting. So I'm just going to do that. I'm going to start the call, and Webinarloop will ask for permission to use your camera. And you can see me on the screen. I'm broadcasting. I'm already on the call. I haven't broadcasted yet. And to broadcast, I just need to click on Go Live, and Webinarloop will start live casting my webinar to the audience. And right now I am live casting. I can change this to my screen too, and then Webinarloop is going to ask me for permission to share my screen, and once I give it the permission, it's going to share the screen too. And I can share my screen by clicking on what type of sharing I want to do. Is it going to be the entire screen? Is it going to be an application window or a Chrome tab? Whatever I want to select, I can click on it and then click on share. Now you can see that my video is changed to the screen, and I can start broadcasting it whenever I'm ready. And finally, you've got the webinar player. On the left side, you can see the presenters, the people who are presenting the call. And in the center, you can see the giant webinar screen. This is where your webinar will play. And on the right side, on the top, you will see the scarcity timer, where people will be able to see how much time they have left before they can buy. So this finishes our quick look at Webinarloop, and I tried to be as comprehensive as I could in the brief time. But actually, it's got a lot more features. It's got a lot more little things that have been built to help marketers like you. This software is built by an internet marketer, and it addresses all the pain points that we have as a webinar marketer. So guys, don't wait any longer, because the price is not going to get any cheaper. This software is at the lowest price right now that you can find, and you can claim your special price if you buy it today. Of course, you're covered by the 1 month money back guarantee. So if you don't like Webinarloop for any reason, you can get your money back. So your investment is 100% safe. Don't wait any longer. Get Webinarloop right now.